Thank you very much for including us and letting us be part of this opportunity to speak to you about hosting and being an exchange student during COVID. It certainly is a different experience. We find that we are not necessarily having the same type of experience, but we're finding other things to do and other ways to share that we feel adds a lot of value to hosting, even during a pandemic. Where our activities mostly are around things that are outdoors, that we can do socially distanced, that we can do in a safe way. But we also found that we're really discovering a lot of the natural gems in our area that we maybe had just kind of forgotten about or never took the time to investigate or to go see. So there's been, we've done some hiking to we are been going to the local land trust, which we had never done before COVID. And we actually started doing that last winter with our exchange student before she was repatriated. And we are continuing to do that now. And it's a great way to discover the area that we live. We are being more creative in finding ways for us to spend time together as a family and to just enjoy being together. And I actually think Zoe's acclimation was a little quicker this year than it has been with our other exchange students. And I think that has to do with the fact that we're really getting to know each other and really spending time together. And I think that that's really kind of key here. She seems totally comfortable in our house and did in about 4 weeks time. And usually that happens much closer to Christmas. So that's been kind of exciting. And I think we're going to take a lot away from that experience. So I'm going to let Zoe introduce herself a little bit and tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm from Switzerland, and I feel like we've done a lot of things and activities, even with all the restrictions and limitations that COVID has brought. But we've been able to grow quite close because we've spent so much time together. We and I mean I can still do hobbies. I do sports and acting classes and everything. We last weekend we went to a light parade, and we just we're still doing things on weekends, and even during the week we have created kind of a pot, so we still were like 3 families that only see each other. So I still kind of get this kind of social life where there's 3 other children I am involved with and have become friends with. I up until last week I've been going to class twice a week, but now they've closed down. So I'm gonna be virtual until January 20th. Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions for us. A couple things that Zoe's gotten involved in is that she does Kung Fu in Switzerland, and we don't have Kung Fu locally, but we do have a very active Taekwondo club. So they've been doing Taekwondo outside or by Zoom. So she's still able to do that 3 times a week. So that gets her, she's met some friends through that activity. My husband and I are very involved in the local fire department and volunteer ambulance. And so Zoe has been able to join as a junior member. And we do a lot of safe training activities. We're smaller groups and things, but Zoe's been able to participate at the firehouse in those sort of activities, which I think has been really fun for her. when we go off on the weekends, we, because a lot of times I've not done the things that we're about to do, we call them our COVID adventures. And so every week we are, my daughter kind of laughs at us. She's home from college right now. And she's like, so what's the newest COVID adventure that we're going on this weekend? So we're just trying to make it fun any way that we can. And I think we're doing it.
Thank you. And I have some questions for you coming from the attendees. First one is, what do Zoe's parents think about her being in the US during the pandemic? I assume that you were applying sort of around the same time or shortly before the pandemic began. What was that like? Did you have to convince your parents, or were they?
No, my parents were very supportive of it. They never did an exchange year, but they were happy that I wanted to do one. And right now, like, Switzerland had a second wave, so it was actually safer for me to be here than in Switzerland. So they are not worried.
Okay, great. Another question for you, Zoe. I would be interested in whether Zoe has been following our national politics and what she thinks of it. Also, what she thinks of how we are handling the pandemic versus how Switzerland is handling it.
Yeah, I have been following the politics. I stayed up at election night. I well, I I don't necessarily agree with Trump's politics. Um, However, Switzerland's handling of the pandemic hasn't been very great either. They haven't been closing down again because of the economy. So, yeah.
That was a beautifully diplomatic response to a difficult question. Are there other students, AFS students in your area with your area team, Andrea?
Yes, so our team is hosting 7 students this year. So we were very excited about that. And what we did is we podded our students, or clustered them so that they could have a pod. So we have 3 students in Falls Village going to that high school. We have 3 students in West Hartford, and then one more student who's just outside of Hartford, and she's in a pod with them. So this way our students would still have the opportunity to have the ability to make friends with other students who are having a similar experience. And the families have all agreed to be in the same pods with each other where the kids go to the same schools. So that's been really helpful to allow our students to have a more full exchange this year.
Okay, Zoe, what do you miss the most about Switzerland?
I mean, to be honest, I thought I would be missing my family and my family more than I actually am. I thought I would be more homesick, but since I have kind of like, and I'm leading another life and I have another family, so they're like replacing my old family, so I'm not really missing my family at home.
Okay. Also, Zoe, what has been the most memorable thing that you've done so far?
That's a hard question. Well, when we went on a light show last weekend, which was pretty impressive. We walked through it and it was beautiful. Also, when I went on, I've gone on 2 fire calls, like ambulance calls so far with the fire department. And when I helped the firemen, like we tested the cars and stuff. So we drove around with, yeah,
Oh, when you were testing the fire trucks?
yeah.
Yeah,
We
right.
drove around in the fire trucks. That was pretty cool.
And she got to be in one of the light parades in the fire truck. So I
Yeah.
think that was a lot of fun.
Great, absolutely. Andrea, do you see a connection between your interest in AFS and your interest in service via ambulance?
I do. It was, so I've been involved in emergency services for almost 25 years now. And when I was in high school, two of my best friends were AFSers who were in my high school. But I didn't really know about the origin of AFS at that time and when I got started. But I do see that there is really some great overlap. And I think that the connection actually makes it a little more meaningful to me that although, and I do think sometimes currently with COVID, some of our operations are not a lot different than they are during wartime, especially back in March and April. And it was really difficult. But I do think that that connection has really hit home in the last couple of years for me.
Okay, great. Zoe, what are your plans for the future?
I want to become a director. So I want to study in the United States.
Okay.
And she's been able to do some, she actually is in a film studies class this year. And this weekend, she spent the entire weekend, she found, not sure where, but she found an 84-hour film challenge. And so she had to create her entire film within 84 hours. So this, this kept her really busy. I mean, she's not having trouble finding things to do, even with COVID.
Very interesting. Another question for you, Zoe. What is the most significant learning experience that you've had since being here beyond the great family sharing that has taken place?
Maybe how important like being social actually is and being in school in person, because it's been really tough, like not being able to go to school for the full week. Like it's hard to stay on task and everything.
Okay. A comment from someone who was an AFSer from Turkey to the United States in 1967. Thank you so much for your involvement in AFS, hosting your student, and for your emergency service to your community.
Well, I'm happy to do it. I actually get much more out of all of that than what I'm giving to either organization.
Beautiful. All right. Are there any other questions? You have a second or two to put them into the chat box. Thank you again, Andrea and Zoe. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Tara, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Andrea and Zoe. That was